Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Browns awaiting the beginning of this year's preseason, getting ready to kick things off in a few hours against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still not a lot of clarity if Deshaun Watson will in fact get the start in that. Relative to that, Mike Florio on what he believes the NFL is doing with the timing of Peter Harvey's announcement about that suspension appeal that the league has.
At some point between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock Eastern time, maybe closer to 5, at some point in that 2-hour window, I think we're going to find out what Peter Harvey has decided to do with the appeal of Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension. And there have been indications all week long. The appeal was filed 9 days ago. The NFLPA filed their written materials a week ago. The rules require an expedited process. I said all along it's going to happen this week. I think it's going to happen today because I think it's going to be a 1-year suspension, indefinite, with Deshaun Watson being prevented from playing tonight against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the later that Peter Harvey issues his ruling, the more difficult it will be for the NFLPA to do anything about it to get him on the field tonight, because the NFLPA, I'm told, is ready to go. Ready with a court challenge, I assume. All I've been told is generally they're ready to go.
Again, Mike Florio on when he expects Peter Harvey to announce that decision. Yesterday, late last night, it came out from the Associated Press that Deshaun Watson would accept an 8-game suspension and a $5 million fine to avoid missing this entire season. Again, that's according to the Associated Press. My guess is the Players Association here is kind of sending out the trial balloon, saying if you want to avoid the federal court, here's what we're thinking, along the lines of a potential suspension and a fine, a significant fine. It would be the highest imposed fine by the league on a player without question. Mike Florio, relative to that thought.
The Associated Press reported yesterday that Deshaun Watson would accept an 8-game suspension and a $5 million fine. Well, that's nice. It's a little too late for that from the NFL's perspective. And see, people get confused. They think, oh, you're saying that he should get more than that. No, I'm not saying he should. I'm saying he will. I'm saying that I'm reading the tea leaves here, which are becoming increasingly clear. And yeah, 8-game suspension and $5 million fine, you're willing to do that now because you're looking at 17 and 10, possibly, if not more, Shireen.
Mike, do you think if he had made this offer before Sue L. Robinson made her decision, the disciplinary officer, that the NFL would have accepted this a month ago, say, before she issued her ruling?
No, I don't. I don't think 8 would have gotten it done. I think it would have had to have been a minimum of 12. Now, the $5 million, that's real money. That's half of what he made last year. And I think the way you would sell this is he's missing half of this season, and he's treating half of last season as a de facto unpaid suspension because he's giving back half of what he made. So you put the two ends together, you get a full season. That's not a bad deal. It's too late for that.
And now we are starting to get word that settlement of the Deshaun Watson situation not out of the question. And again, this happening within the last few hours. Sounds like talks are ongoing. Mary Kay Cabot, beat reporter for the Browns, cleveland.com. Haven't heard anything about an appeal coming down today from Peter C. Harvey. So as of now, it's all systems go. Deshaun Watson to start tonight's preseason opener against the Jaguars. With that, let's welcome in G. Bush, host of the Barbershop 92.3 The Fan, as well as co-host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Sounds like there is a lot of conversation going on between the Players Association and the NFL behind the scenes to see if they can find terms where they would avoid federal court. That's my reading of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that both sides are looking to kind of, get this thing over with and kind of just, continue to keep it moving. One of the things that I think that the NFL is up against right now is the fact that the season is here. So if you're going to continue to try to, get your public sentiment behind you, you have to do that before games kick off. And then, to be honest with you, everybody knows this. Once the games start, don't nobody care about that. Like, no one's gonna be checking for Deshaun Watson. No one's gonna be checking for the suspension or the updates or any of that good stuff. So, to me, I just think I don't really kind of know what the NFL wants out of this situation. It's almost like somebody that just wants attention. Because if you just wanted to really get this thing done and over with, you could have took the 6 games, right? That Sue Robinson came up with. You could have took the 8 games that Deshaun Watson is saying, but you want to go all the way to indefinite year suspension when. And part of me wants it to go to federal court to look at it a little bit, just for the simple fact of the NFL oversteps and overreaches a lot. The Players Association did sign that contract and did sign it, but I think at the end of the day, when you come to it, do you want to make it look like you're just doing so much, or do you want to get it over with and be done? Some judge can possibly look at it and be like, look, man, so one judge gave you 6 games. Deshaun Watson came back after that, said, I'll take 8 and $5 million. And you guys are still trying to give an unprecedented, punishment. That the fine is unprecedented already. The 6 games is already unprecedented. And sometimes it all depends on what lawyer you get. And I think both sides are banking. And I watched your podcast or watched the show with the lawyer you had on. And the NFL Players Association wants to get ready to go to Delaware. And the NFL and the owners, they want to go to the Southern District of New York. So, they all understand, they're ready to go, and it's just a race to see who can file the briefings first. But if the Players Association was to get a favorable location of where this is going to take place, that could kind of come back to bite the NFL in the butt a little bit, because some judges, as you know, are sympathetic to certain things, and others do what they want to, especially when it comes to sentencing and things like that. So, I'll be anxious to see how it comes down. But I think me and a lot of other people are just like, man, look, can we just get it over with? Figure something out, do it, and keep it moving and get to the season.
Yep, I hear you. Voicemail of Truth and Reason. Got a lot of voicemails about the Deshaun Watson situation, so we will take some of them. Here's one voicemail of Truth and Reason on Deshaun Watson's case.
Hi, this is Alex in Oregon, longtime Browns fan. Love the show. Deshaun Watson's team has really guided him the wrong way. The best strategy would have been to at least admit some sort of inappropriate behavior, and on the fine side, agree to donate, I don't know, $1 million per woman or $1 million per case, $24 million to women's abuse causes. So whoever has advised Deshaun has not done a terrific job. The punishment is largely, I believe, for this lack of contrition and unwillingness to see any wrongdoing, or at least inappropriateness in his behavior. Thank you so much. All the best.
Appreciate all the voicemails, G. Bush, and that kind of was delineated. He, again, doesn't feel like he did anything wrong, but the judge kind of hammered him by saying he didn't show any contrition, which is, it's a double-edged thing right there.
It's always a double-edged sword. I always take a look at it. Back in the Inquisition days, they used to always run around back in the days of all the kings and queens of France and England. When they were battling to figure out what church they belonged to, people used to just walk up in mobs and say, hey, you're a heretic. And that's the worst thing that could ever happen, you being named a heretic. So you got, you pretty much got rounded up. The king got you, threw you in a dungeon, and they tortured you and say, listen, just confess. And all this can be over with if you just confess to this crime. Don't you want to go back to your family? Don't you want to get up out of here? And then all of a sudden, he's like, you know what? You're right, man. I confess. I did it. I was a heretic. I was reading the wrong Bible or whatever. And then guess what they do? They execute you anyway for being a heretic. So at the end of the day, the league is not going. If anybody believes that the league was going to come out and give Deshaun Watson 4 games because he said he was remorseful, you're mistaken, right?
No.
If you thought they're going to get 6 to 8 games because he saw the error in his ways, no, they were always going to give him what they were going to give him. So the thought process of whether or not you're guilty of anything, in Deshaun Watson's mind, he's like, well, I went in front of 2 grand juries, and those grand juries had the ability to take my freedom away. And they said that they're not going to bring charges. So now, my opinion, I didn't do anything. Now, in terms of what Sue Robinson saw, it is what it is. That was her opinion on it. And she issued an opinion of that, as well as 6 games. So I can't have, people can't have it both ways. Either you like what Sue Robinson said and you believe that he was guilty of some stuff and he hammered them, but then you can't turn around and just say, oh, well, we don't agree with the 6 games. You got to take both.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we'll take a look at where the Browns sit salary cap-wise relative to Deshaun Watson, and can that affect what they do moving forward? Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You can see that 11 until 1, Monday through Friday. All right, let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about Andrew Berry and how Watson's suspension might affect him.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Friday. I would assume that since the Deshaun Watson situation is pretty much putting the roster manipulations and depth charts and everything in limbo, that it would also handcuff Andrew Berry to a certain extent as far as cap space, extensions, and major moves on that part. Your thoughts, please. Thank you.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Let's take a look at this tweet from Jack Duffin. We've had him on the show a number of times. He is outstanding with this salary cap from the Orange and Brown report. Watson getting a year suspension creates, almost $10 million of additional cap space, 6-game suspension, and a 2023 restructuring. You see the numbers, year suspension, the contract tolls. The bottom line, G. Bush, and Jack Duffin has been on our show a few times. He's fantastic. The Browns have more salary cap space than anybody in the league. And Andrew Berry has structured deals so that you kind of push it down. Eventually they're going to come due, but you've got a while before that is the case. So this doesn't really handcuff him in any way, shape, or form.
No, and I think, once again, this is just why, these guys are where they are. I mean, when they came in, people talked about them being an analytic front office. And DePodesta and Andrew Berry and some of the guys they got in the front office, the Ivy League guys, I don't know what people thought. I mean, these guys are mathematicians by trade. Like, I'm sure they can find a way to manipulate the cap and to get guys in here under contracts. And I think a lot of it is one of those things where people are just kind of scared. You know, the Browns haven't been sustained, like they haven't been good under a sustained period of time over the length of a 5 to 10 year period. Usually, generally speaking, they may get a couple guys here or there, but you may have injuries that derail you, or you got guys that are just in trouble with the league, and you have those things happen where it kind of derails the long-term plan for the Cleveland Browns. Just go back and look at, guys like Josh Gordon being one of the, a guy that they actually hit on and showed a lot of promise. They end up having to get rid of him because of just off the field stuff. So, I think the Deshaun Watson thing, all that was baked in. And when people say that, the Haslams didn't understand that, he was going to be out for a year, and what happens, you got a team that's built ready for now. And if you don't believe that his advisor sat him down and said, okay, there's a good chance that he's going to be gone for a year, but here's the reason why it's a great opportunity still to take him. And I look at it like this. There's all kind of teams that do this. The Ravens do it more than anybody. They draft a guy out of college who may have been injured, like a quiddy pay or something like that, and they just say, okay, we're going to take a second-round pick on you, but we believe that our infrastructure is good enough where we can redshirt you almost this year, and we can still get what we want to get out of you, even if you miss a whole entire year. So when you look at it from the Browns' perspective, and getting a guy that will only be 27 years old in his prime still, he's not playing defensive tackle or anything. You can't hit quarterbacks really, so I'm not worried about injury in his case. So for me, I look at it as even if he misses this year, it'll suck for fans, it'll suck for marketing reasons, but at the end of the day, they still may have enough money and cap space to go after somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo, whose name has been floated out here a little bit. And if you go after Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, he's led a team to the Super Bowl before, NFC Championship game, won some big games for the 49ers, and the team is built like in San Francisco, a lot like the Browns are. So, you still have some stuff up your sleeve that you can do. And the Browns will be flexible and having some money to make sure this year is not a waste.
Yeah, you mentioned Andrew Berry, Deep Destin, and those guys. A lot of times guys think they're the smartest guys in the room. These guys are usually the smartest guys in the room. At least right. I think they are. and you know what? They've got it under control. This is kind of interesting. So Spot Track manages cap and does all kinds of things. If the Browns were to acquire Jimmy Garoppolo, here is the money they would have invested in the quarterback position. And you see Watson's $45 million, the contract tolls, so that wouldn't be this year, it would be next year. But then you got Garoppolo, $25. They're still paying $10.5 of Baker. Jacoby Brissett is, $4.65. They're still paying Case Keenum $1 million. But again, they have it manipulated so they could fit all those in, and it works under the salary cap. Let me ask you this. If Deshaun Watson misses, say it's 12 games or more, would you go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo, or are you riding with Jacoby Brissett?
I mean, to me, it's not too much of a crazy difference between Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo, but to be honest, I don't even really have a strong opinion on either. If Andrew Berry says, hey, we believe that Jimmy Garoppolo gives us a way better chance than Jacoby Brissett, heck, go out and do it. If that's what they believe they need to get over the hump, they're there every single day in the facility. They know what Jacoby Brissett looks like. I think it'll help to see what Jacoby Brissett looks like in preseason to make that decision on Jimmy G. But if they brought Jimmy G in, I wouldn't have any problems with it. Like I said before, when you take a look at what his playoff record is, 5-2, he's been to a Super Bowl, was able to go to beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field. He has been in a similar type offense where he's predicated off the play action pass and utilization of tight ends and different things like that in the running game. So for me, Jimmy G is a middle-of-the-road starter. I think somebody put it best, and I don't know who said it, but I'm going to steal it. He's a solid 14th, like he's the 14th, 13th, 14th best quarterback, and he's give or take 2, either way. So if he's 13, he could be the 15th best quarterback, or he can be the 11th best quarterback, right? like give or take 2, depending on what he's like, depending on the system. He can move up 2 spots or can move down 2 spots. So I think he's middle of the road. But I think if you have an elite defense, if you have an elite running game, and you have a very innovative play caller, you can win games with Jimmy Garoppolo at a high level and potentially even get to the Super Bowl. That's been seen before.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take one more time out, other side of the break. We'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, turning our attention to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Browns getting set to kick off the preseason in a few hours. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush, host of the Barbershop 92.3 The Fan, Saturday mornings from 8 until noon. Also, co-host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show from 11 to 1, Monday through Friday on YouTube. We're going to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about what this viewer wants to see from the Browns tonight against the Jaguars.
Oh, Thad from Youngstown. The thing I would like to see in tomorrow night's preseason game is for the Browns to stay healthy. We've been having a seriousness of bad luck as far as health-wise, especially to our wide receiver room. We can't afford to have any more injuries, and I'm looking at the wide receiver room and I'm looking at the D-line. We just can't have it. Thank you for taking my call. Great show. Just love it. Go Browns.
All right, Thad, as always, appreciate all of the voicemails of Truth and Reason. G. Bush, man, don't walk by that wide receiver room. You might pull something or get banged up just going anywhere near it.
Man, everybody is down. It seemed like everybody, as soon as they step out on the field, they get hurt. That's just part of the game a little bit. But nonetheless, it still hurts. You look at what they got out there. Amari Cooper is pretty much a guaranteed guy as far as his veteran leadership, what he can do on the field, tactician as a route runner. But then you look behind him, they don't have very much. You look at David Bell, who's been in and out of practice. He missed a week. Anthony Schwartz missed a couple of weeks in there. Isaiah Weston is out for the season. Jakeem Grant is out for the season. You just keep going down the line, and you just keep finding guys. So, the guy that I think that could possibly step up, that is going to probably end up making this team because of his versatility. One, Jakeem Grant goes down. You have Demetric Felton, who can return kicks and punts. He also is a running back, so he gives you added depth at that position in case you need it. And, of course, he's working with the wide receivers. So he's a guy that's going to look to be a very beneficiary of those injuries. Also, Mike Woods, man, Woods was looking good out of Oklahoma. He was looking real good for the first four or 5 days of camp. He ends up pulling the hamstrings, going to be out for a significant part of the time, according to Coach Stefanski. So he's another young wide receiver I was looking forward to seeing. Didn't get a chance to take a look at as well. But, anytime you're playing in the preseason games, it's all about staying healthy. It's all about keeping the injuries down, keeping your veterans and your starters, get them some work, but at the same time, make sure that they come out whole in the game, and so that you don't have to deal with the fact that, hey, we already shorthanded at quarterback. We're going to have to need everybody, all hands on deck. And the last thing you need is somebody pulling up on or the Achilles heel, ACL, get rolled up on, any of that kind of stuff in a preseason game.
All right, so the first preseason game kicks off a few hours. What do you need to see from the Browns out on the field tonight to feel better about 2022 moving forward?
You know, the first and foremost, I'm anxious to see. I'm really anxious to see Deshaun Watson, and because I think it's a good opportunity to get the fans some goodwill, right? To get Deshaun Watson feeling good about himself. For the last, Browns fans have been forced to pretty much defend their fandom, to defend Deshaun Watson. He hasn't even played a game for us yet, right? It's easier to defend somebody when you've seen him put touchdowns on the board for you, when you've seen him electrify the crowds, when you've seen him throw touchdowns and do things to get his team wins. But he hasn't been able to do that so far because of, obviously he didn't play last year, and he's, looking like he's not going to play some games this year. So it's a good opportunity to get him out there and then remind him, hey, I know you're going through some bad stuff right now. I know it's kind of stressful on you right now, but this is the reason you play the game. This is why you're going through all this other stuff here, is because you want to get back to playing football. So to give him that spark, that confidence, and that feeling again after almost a year and a half, to say, oh, wow, this is worth it. Yeah, I know I'm going through something bad right now, but this is worth what I'm doing. And then the second aspect of it I'm looking to see is I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the young guys, Perrion Winfrey and Jerome Ford. Those two guys should be getting a lot of playing time in a game like this. Perrion is an athletic guy, was at camp the other week, and he was just moving around. I like his athleticism, can rush the passer. And I like his motor as well, too. Got all the physical traits. And then I want to see Jerome Ford, because I'll tell you what, I've been high on him coming out of Cincinnati. He's able to hit some home runs. He reminds me a little bit of a mix between all the backs we got on the roster, which is a scary thing. And I'm interested in see what he can bring to the table. I think he's going to have a really good game tonight as well.
How important do you think it is to get Jacoby Brissett some work? Because it's likely, unless something unforeseen happens, he's going to be the quarterback for at least the first 6 games. And you only have 3 preseason games now, and you want to make sure he's, live and full speed with the ones for a period of time at least.
Yeah, I think, if you listen to all of the reports, it looks like we're going to have something tonight in terms of the suspension. So, when we figure it out tonight and after tonight, I think that the Browns understand that they're going to be giving most of the reps to Jacoby Brissett, whether that would be in their 7-on-7 work. He'll get a lot of that work against the Philadelphia Eagles as well during training camp, where it's more of I would guess, a setting where it's more controlled. You're not going to have guys running live and hitting guys, but you can get a lot of good work going against other teams in 7-on-7, and a lot of good work from Jacoby Brissett in that inter squad that scrimmage with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think he'll get all those reps. And then I'm sure he'll get reps some tonight and tomorrow, or tonight and the next week. So I think Jacoby Brissett is a guy who they know what they got in him. He's come off the bench. That's his role, and he's been doing it for his whole career. So I think he'll be ready to go and give you what he needs to do. And I think the Browns are confident in that.
G. Bush referencing that the Browns will have joint practices with the Eagles in Berea next week ahead of that preseason game next weekend. All right, before I let you go, how important is it? You mentioned Winfrey, but you could throw Taven Bryant, who's going and playing against his former team, Jordan Elliott. How important are those defensive linemen? That and wide receiver are where the question marks are on this team. How important are the preseason games for those guys?
Huge, because last year we saw Malik McDowell coming out of that group, right? We looked, we needed another defensive tackle. Malik McDowell proved himself to be a guy that could penetrate, a guy that could be disruptive in the Atlanta Falcons game last year, and he ended up starting the first game of the year as he took that momentum throughout the season. So there's jobs available for guys out there to be had. There's jobs out there for Tommy Togiai, Jordan Elliott. The coaching staff has raved about what he's doing, how he's changed his game. He basically, from their recollection and their testament, they think that he's going to be a guy that jumps off the paper and a big surprise to fans and the media because of the work he put in the offseason. So you have him, Jordan Elliott. Taven Bryan, he's going to come back again, once again, back home playing in his old stadium against his old team. He should be jacked up and ready to go. He's listed as one of the starters up front there, too. So, Sheldon Day is in that mix. All those guys are in the mix. But there's no front runners in that position, right? There's nobody that is going to say, "Oh, I'm going to take today off because I'm the leader. I'm the defensive tackle, and we know that who we are." Nah, there's going to be a free-for-all. There's going to be guys out there competing, and they got to do that. That is by far the weakest link on the team, and to me, that's where the Cleveland Browns are either going to be made or broke this year, is can they stop the run with the defensive tackles, and can they find anybody else besides Amari Cooper to catch the football and be able to get this team ready to go and hopefully contend for a playoff position.
G. Bush, host of the Barbershop 92.3 The Fan, as well as co-host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. As always, man, great stuff. Appreciate the time. Thanks very much.
Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
You too, G. Bush. Make sure you catch him 92.3 The Fan on the Barbershop tomorrow from 8 until noon. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, Brad Ward from Browns-Wire.com, as well as the All Eyez on Cleveland podcast. We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
Maybe cliche, but there's no I in team. The only identity that matters is we. The collective effort to love thy neighbor is needed now more than ever. The responsibility behind pronouns such as I, me, and mine impact we, us, and ours. So understand that you make all the difference in the team. He, him, her, or she can't disturb our peace, since we control our destiny as student athletes. This is the power of pronouns.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. As it stands now, unless something changes in the next 2.5, 3 hours, Deshaun Watson will in fact be under center and playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, getting the start against Jacksonville. And a few minutes ago, TIAA Stadium in Jacksonville, as Deshaun Watson getting ready to head to the Browns locker room and take his first snaps as the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Time for us to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one with a question about the wide receiver position for the Browns.
How you doing? This is E.T. calling. Quick question about our wide receiving core. I know hindsight is 2020. Was it a mistake for Cleveland to get rid of Jarvis Landry? I'm seeing all of the injuries we've taken to our receiving corps this offseason, and I'm starting to wonder, was it a mistake to get rid of Juice? We could have paired him with Amari, and he could have helped these young cats along. But even so, even if nobody cared about all that, just the injuries that we've been having, I think we could have used him. What do you guys think? Thank you. Have a nice day. Go Dogs.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Let's welcome in Brad Ward, Browns Wire, as well as the All Eyez on Cleveland podcast. Let you go first. What do you think about it? A mistake to let Jarvis go?
It's a really tough one, Dave. You know, I think that at some point there was a disconnect in the negotiations between the two teams. We kept hearing rumors that there was still a chance, but there wasn't a chance. You know, he started a $10 million non-guaranteed contract. They weren't going to pay that. Now he ends up getting $3 million base with $3 million incentives. If you would have told me that from the get, I probably would have said, yeah, let's bring him back at that rate. But I don't think the Browns ever got that offer because I think they would have jumped on that. I think once he went into free agency, that was kind of it, maybe, or he maybe was looking more aggressively to move elsewhere, Dave.
Yeah, and keep in mind the number was, I believe it was $15 million that his contract was that they decided not to bring in, and you know, I think he maybe overestimated the market for him. But I get the caller's point. He sure would look good as somebody that you'd be able to trot out there right now, without question. All right, so this from BrownsWire.com. 3 players, one from each phase to watch for in this preseason game. On offense, they go with David Bell. That's the 3rd-round pick. Defense, an interesting one. Chase Winovich, guy that they acquired in that trade from the Patriots. Special teams, Cade York, the kicker who has been bombing things through the uprights and been very good. Brad, when you look at those, there's a chance Bell doesn't play because he's coming off that foot and he's kind of questionable to go. Yeah, I get it. You want to see all these guys.
Yeah, I want to see David Bell really badly, actually, Dave, to be honest. You know, he seems like a guy that's going to really need to step up. But this is a preseason, and I would, you know, like Kevin Stefanski, want to err on the side of caution. So if he has any lingering effects with his foot, then he shouldn't play tonight. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play, right? But in his place, that's just another opportunity for these guys that are battling for the last spots in this wide receiver room to showcase themselves. So whoever plays in his place, that's just another opportunity, another guy I want to see. I don't know if Schwartz will play either because he's been dinged. So another guy that I want to see. So, you know, the Mike Harley Jr.'s, the Javon Wims, you know, those guys, Jamarcus Bradley, those guys are the kind of guys that, you know, you want to watch tonight and see if they're getting separation, see how they look in the offense, see if they have rhythm with either of the quarterback, any of the quarterbacks. Those are things I want to watch for a wide receiver. Totally agree with Cade York. Big bright spot right now, but it's different in the real thing. I know it's not the real thing, but, you know, it's different than kicking in practice, certainly. So he'll be intriguing to watch. It's not like you have to sit Cade York out for injury reasons, right? So that's a good one. And Chase Winovich is an interesting choice because they really do need a third edge rusher to fill that kind of Tack McKinley role that they can use in their kind of NASCAR packages, their sub packages when they really want to attack the quarterback in obvious passing situations. And will Winovich be it? I don't know. You know, I think that he could play that role, but I'm not convinced. You know, I mean, I need to see more so that he'll be able to showcase himself a little bit and try to win that job, because whoever gets that job is going to get to kind of tee off against quarterbacks, and maybe it'll be him. So he is certainly an interesting guy to watch tonight, Dave.
Yeah, the guy that I'm curious to see a little bit of is Taven Bryan. Going against his former team, somebody, when you sign a guy as early in free agency as the Browns signed him, they clearly saw a role for him that they want him to fill. So I'm just anxious to see what he does.
Yeah, me too, definitely. You think that I think that Joe Woods and Andrew Berry saw maybe, hey, they're not using him the same way we would use him. He's got these elite athletic traits. Let's see if we can bring him in, change of scenery, change of scheme, and maybe he excels, right? A la Malik McDowell or whoever else, right? Although a very different situation. But I'm interested to watch him. I'm interested to watch that entire room. Perion Winfrey. I've heard good things about Jordan Elliott. You know, I know he probably won't be in there very long, but that entire room, certainly something you want to keep your eye on. But definitely Taven Bryan will be somebody I'll have my eyes on for sure, Dave. You're absolutely right.
All right, Doug Pound Daily has 3 big storylines heading into the Browns preseason. Number 3, who is going to win the kick returner job? And that became a huge question mark when Jakeem Grant tore his ACL. He's on IR. Number 2, this one is critical as well. Which young wide receivers will carve out roles for themselves? And, this one might be the most important. How do you divvy up the quarterback reps? You really have 4 quarterbacks. You got to find a way to get Watson some reps. He hasn't played in an entire year. If he's not suspended for the season, these are going to be the only times you get him to go against live action. Got to get Brissett ready. He's playing at least the first 6. If he gets banged up, you got to get Dobbs and you got to get Rosen. The quarterback reps, they got to get guys ready.
It's really difficult, Dave, because you think about with Brissett and Watson, you don't want to put either of them out there with the second string offensive line. And you don't want to play your starting offensive line for the whole first half, right? So you can't give a quarter to Watson and a quarter to Brissett or whatever, right? It's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that situation. I think that we will see Watson more than we see Brissett at this point. I think this is a time where if we don't hear anything in the next couple hours, as you updated, coming off of the break there, we haven't heard anything yet about a suspension. They got to take advantage of this opportunity and get Watson reps in a live game situation. Maybe your only chance to do so for a long time, right? And then, so I'm not so much worried about Brissett tonight. So make sure Watson gets his reps behind the one offensive line. Get Brissett maybe a series. You've got 2 more games that you can get him prepared. You know what I mean? And I don't even know. There's so much going on around out there with Jimmy Garoppolo and whatnot. We don't even really know. Until we get the information from the league, it's hard to really decide what they're going to do there. But they do have to get him ready. But not so much tonight. I think, Phil, there's more urgency to get Watson ready tonight. And I think then you'll see the other 2, the Joshes, right? The Joshes split the rest of the game, right?
Which Josh will emerge? That'll become a question. Brad Ward and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out outside the break, head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. More about what fans want to see from the Browns tonight. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with Brad Ward from BrownsWire.com, as well as the host of the All Eyez on Cleveland podcast. Time for us to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about what this fan wants to see from the Browns tonight.
Dave, starting tonight, I want the Cleveland Browns to show the rest of the NFL that they are the most dominant, complete teams of the NFL. That they will dominate their opponent from the first snap of the ball to the end of the game. That they are the team to be feared by all, headed to the finish goal of the Super Bowl champions.
All right, as always, appreciate all of the voicemails. And Brad, I think the thought is, have your 2s and your 3s and everybody kind of have the same mentality. And to a certain extent, they played like that a little bit last preseason.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I always want to temper fans' expectations before preseason games. One thing that we've learned over the years is that a coach has a checklist of things that they're looking to accomplish, right? They want to accomplish this. They want to see this. They want to see this, X, Y, Z. They want to see this player and that player in this situation. And those things and scenarios are what they're trying to create and accomplish. And sometimes a victory for the Browns coaching staff is one that we won't ever even understand at home. So that's kind of hard to understand. But absolutely, I would love to see them go out with the mentality all the way down the line, right? 1 through 53 or 1 through 90 right now, and see everybody go out and play hard and play well. But really, I want to get key players off the field healthy. That's the most important thing for me in preseason game 1. Get the key guys out there, get them some reps, get them out of there healthy. That's kind of like the motto, right?
Yep, get them to week 1 of the regular season healthy is kind of the ultimate goal. 3 players to watch preseason week 1. This is from Dog Pound Daily. Number 3, Josh Rosen, mentioned he's going to be battling for that third quarterback spot. Number 2, A.J. Green, a cornerback who just whatever you ask him to do, he seems to be able to do. And number 1, Demetric Felton. And Felton is going to get the opportunity to carve out a role on this team, thanks in part to the injury to Jakeem Grant.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, Felton should definitely be somebody to keep your eye on. Explosive ability. We saw it in one of the most explosive plays the Browns had last year. Incredibly athletic play that he took to the house. He's probably going to get an opportunity to carve out a role in the slot. And now maybe return punts. I don't know if Dearness Johnson will do kickoffs. It'll be interesting tonight to see who they give that duty to, right? I don't think they can go out and acquire just another guy a returner, right? I think it needs to be somebody that contributes to either your wide receiver room and your running back room and returns. I don't think they can afford to do. They're not deep enough at wide receiver to just go get a return specialist, in my opinion, right? So I think it needs to probably either be somebody internal or somebody they add later, but can at least contribute to the wide receiver room. The other guys on that list, A.J. Green, I love, right? I love A.J. Green. I think that he has a great shot to win that third cornerback spot, actually. It's probably between him and Greedy. I know MJ Emerson has been great. They're really deep in that secondary, so that's quite a battle. And I just hope to see really good things from A.J. Green because I'm a big fan. I thought he showed great things last year. He's had a good camp so far. I think he'll continue to be impressive. I think that he is a bright spot from camp, and hopefully that continues tonight as well.
Yeah, and with Rosen, he's probably going to be going against, the 2s or 3s for the Jaguars. So if he doesn't do well, it's not a good sign. If you've got a guy who's been in the league and is not doing it late in preseason games, something that is a warning, that's a red flag. All right, before I let you go, let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Another, what this fan is looking for tonight.
Hey, Dave, this is what I want to see from the Browns Friday night to make me feel better about going into this coming season. Starting with left tackle. Need to see Jedrick Wills, first of all, stay healthy. Number 2, show us that he can improve on his rookie year.
Yeah, and Brad, I agree wholeheartedly. That's going to be a big thing. If he is who the Browns thought he was when they took him 10 overall, this offensive line kind of moves up another notch. And obviously having a little bit of trouble with Brad Ward. But again, Jedrick Wills, I think, and I think he will, but he needs to be healthy, and he needs to be the kind of left tackle that the Browns thought he was.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I thought his comment about him playing at 50% was kind of odd, Dave. Like, 50%, really? That's kind of a strange comment. I know Chris Hubbard wasn't there, and this offensive line has a culture of playing through injury, right? That Shredder and Batonio and these guys have kind of set. So I get it that he was out there playing but playing at 50% seems kind of scary, right? Like, I don't think I would want any player playing at 50% on the field. And so that comment kind of struck me a little bit. Certainly they need him to be much better than he was last year. And I know he was playing very injured. But yeah, he needs to take a big step forward and solidify that offensive line. I
agree with you, and it's a big year for him. Year 3 after being banged up. So you want to see him moving back and ascending towards the better left tackles. Brad Ward, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Brad.
Thank you, Dave. Enjoy the game tonight, buddy.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Brad Ward, make sure you catch him, Brownswire.com, as well as the host of the All Eyez on Cleveland podcast. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, Lance Reisland will join us, some film breakdown of the guy we were just talking about, Jedrick Wills. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Last year, tough year for left tackle Jedrick Wills. His second season, had a high ankle injury in week 1 against the Chiefs and kind of tried to keep playing through it and couldn't ever really get his legs back under him. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland, former coach in the area. For cleveland.com, does film breakdowns. Lance, how big of a deal, how important is that lower base for an offensive lineman like Jedrick Wills, and how tough is it when you're not 100% to try to play that position?
Well, one of the cliches in football is always low man wins. So, you create that when you're low, you create that leverage, and that leverage comes from your hips, your ankles, your knees. And so when he was hurt, he was unable to have that foundation with his ankles. And obviously that led to some issues for him blocking pass and rush. So that foundation, that low man wins comes from the hips, the knees, and the ankles, and that ankle had a lot to do with his some of his issues last year. Yeah,
you develop some technique. You get away from your techniques to try to compensate, and it's a thing that it just kind of keeps compounding. Now, you can log on to cleveland.com and find Lance's full video breakdown of Jedrick Wills. We're going to kind of go through some of it right here. He appears to be healthy, and we say that because he has to go against Myles Garrett, and that's a great way to sharpen your technique and your skills. Is you see him right there trying to block one of the best defensive ends in football. What do you see from him, going against Garrett here?
Well, there's three things. One is he gets to go against Garrett every day, and that's going to make you better. Garrett is just an unbelievable talent in terms of being able to bend around the corner. But there's two other things too that I like. One is that he has Bill Callahan, who's arguably the best O-line coach in the NFL, and he's got Joe Thomas giving him tips, on a lot of days. So he has Garrett, Thomas, and he's also got Bill Callahan. So he has the resources to get better each day for sure.
And the other thing is, in talking to him and hearing him talk, he really has the desire to, which is probably equally as important. He realizes, it's a big year for him. All right, let's take a look at this. And in this frame of video, the thing to notice is how well he is moving. And you see him again there at the bottom of the screen, laterally moving. How important is that? And as a coach, when you see a guy that big that can move like that, what's it tell you?
Well, the left tackle in the NFL especially, you have to be able to move laterally, and there's two reasons for it. One is usually those defensive ends, Myles Garrett being an example, they're a little better athletically than those tackles. So the more lateral quickness that a tackle has, he's able to fend off those spin moves, the speed rushes. But also, which is big in the Browns scheme, is their outside zone. So you often think of a lineman moving somebody backwards, or vertical displacement is what they call it. But there's also horizontal displacement. And in the zone game, it's moving those linemen side to side or towards the sideline. And you can only do that with great feet. And that's really, really big in the Browns zone scheme. So he's got to have it for both pass and rush, for sure. You're asking the tackles to cover a lot of real estate to open up the holes for the running backs. All right, let's take a look at this. And in this, we note that he's climbing to the second level. Again, as a former high school coach, what are you telling your guys that play line to pay attention to that 71 is doing here? Well, there's two things when you climb to the second level. First of all, if the play is to him, he's the point of attack. So he's got to get his body between the defender and the ball carrier or the quarterback. Here, the play's away. So he's showing great hustle, trying to cut off that backside linebacker, trying to get up to the second level, even a third level, so he can get a big block. It's kind of how you see those big runs in the NFL. It's the receivers and those linemen downfield. So teaching point here is just get to the second level if it's to you, and be the point of attack. And if the play's away from you, hustle and get downfield.
All right, let's take a look at one more clip here. I think we got two more. Let's look at this one. What do you see technique-wise that again, you would say, hey, guys, this is what makes an elite left tackle?
Well, right here he's working the zone, and if you look at his left hand is getting into the body of the defender. And basically what that means is if he tries to get his right hand in there, that defender in the NFL, he's going to try to protect his gap. So as Will steps to the right, that defender is going to step to his left. So by getting his left hand in there, it's allowing him to be chest to chest and body to body. And just like they're fundamentally, they're a clinic down there with the offensive line. For all their runs and all their pass sets, they do these attention to detail things that are just very impressive.
Overall, when you look at Jedrick Wills, what do you see as strengths that make him and give him the ability, if he's healthy and he takes that next step, to be an elite left tackle? When you see him, what do you see from a coaching perspective?
Well, he's not traditional a mauler where he's going to vertically just move the defensive tackles. That's not his calling card. What I really like about him on film is his ability to move his feet when he's healthy. And he has a great understanding of what Coach Stefanski is trying to do with their schemes. So what he does with that feet is he is able to get his body, his backside. If it's a run game, he knows where the running back's going to be, and he's able to position his body, even though it might not be a devastating shot, position his body between the defender and the ball carrier. And it's the same thing in the pocket during pass protection. He's able to understand where the quarterback's going to be and use his feet to cut off those angles against the defensive lineman.
Lance Reisland, really good stuff. But, the footwork, that you said that, and it just kind of clicked with me. That would make that injury, that high ankle sprain, that takes away what is such a strength of his, and it just really kind of turns everything into a brawl for him when he's injured last season. Fair to say that?
Yeah, because his strength, when you watch him on film, he's all those guys are fantastic in blocking, but he's not, when you watch Wyatt Teller and you watch Batonio and some of these tackles, he is not a mauler, I like to say. He's not a guy who's just going to push the guy. So he has to have his feet so he can get his body in position, get to that second level, get to the third level, get inside for pass protection, cut off those angles on pass rush techniques, those spin moves, those speed moves, those DNs like to do. So for him, his feet is everything. And he has a great, and like I said, when you watch him, he knows what they're doing schematically. He's just not out there, randomly blocking people. He knows what the offense is trying to do, and he positions his feet accordingly.
Lance Reisland, as always, great stuff. Appreciate it. And Lance will be with us pretty much every Friday doing some film breakdown. We appreciate the insight and the time, and we look forward to future ones. Thanks very much, Coach.
Thank you very much.
All right, Lance Reisland. Make sure you check out his film breakdown on cleveland.com. He will be with us most Fridays here on Sports4CLE, so we are looking forward to that. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. See you back here Monday at 4. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday on Sports4CLE.